We've just watched Ireland 17, or excuse me, wow, that would have been something. Italy 17, Ireland 22, no panic. So a 5-point win for Ireland. Where are they, Shane?
It's very hard to tell. I think you could make a strong case to say Ireland have got progressively worse in this Six Nations, which is surprising. We always talk about teams have more time together, get to gel, learn each other's patterns, and the play gets better as it goes on. It hasn't been the case. You think about Ireland, that opening game against England, incredibly impressive. Period in that second half was some of the best rugby we've seen Ireland play over the last number of years. Again, I thought a very impressive performance against Scotland, especially in the opening half and the way they finished it off. A Scotland team that has, had big expectations about this Six Nations. And from there, it has dropped. So Wales are in we know the trouble Wales are in. We allow for their bounce, but that wasn't a good performance. And then the France performance was, a big drop. Despite France being a good side, but France didn't play at their highest level last week either. Let's say that. And then that was a very lacklustre performance against Italy. Now, that all said, Ireland had a huge, brilliant opportunity to win the Grand Slam this year, despite playing like that, which when I think these players reflect on this year at the end of their careers, they had a chance to do something no other team has ever done, which is a three-peat and to win a Grand Slam. That doesn't come around very often.
Matt, what jumps out to, I suppose, the untrained eye compared to, you guys have such a feel for the game is lots of us have been watching Ireland, and over the last couple of years, 2022 in particular, into 23 in the World Cup, there was something about the Irish attack. It was just fizzing. It felt fluid. They'd keep the ball. They'd punch holes. They just looked brilliant with the ball. And now they just don't. Why is that? What's going on here?
Well, I think we saw it again today, Joe, that since Joe Schmidt's return with Australia last year, as we said on the show before, the way he set up Australia's defence in November really troubled Ireland. And since then, we've seen France, Scotland, Wales, and now today Italy all play a non-rushing defence. In other words, they just hold their connection with the guy player next to them and move forward. They do move forward, but they're not losing individuals out. And that leaves no space for the short passing game that Ireland plays so well. So the defences have certainly cottoned on. So I would always, people would say, they figured us out. And I go, no, that's ridiculous. Ireland have to face that the opposition defences are putting up a system now that is limiting their attack. And they have to go away and rethink their attack. I have no doubt about that. It doesn't mean you have to throw the whole thing out. But it is limiting how... I mean, Ireland should have won that game today by a bit more. But we also have to say Italy played well and they were the architects of their own defeat. They could have won that game quite easily. And as always, it's how the opposition limits you. And I felt Italy and France going back, and Wales to a lesser degree, and Sean Edwards' defence with France limited the attack for sure.
Yeah. Rob, a word on today and then pick up on Matt's point for us.
Yeah. Listen, I agree with all the points that have been made already. I think Ireland have progressively gotten worse. Today probably been the poorest of the performances, considering against the opposition. And we have to take that into account as well. We should not be hanging on to victory against Wales against Italy in the 80th minute. On Matt's point, yeah, again, very fair. This Irish attack, and 2-3 years ago, we were the best in the world at it, playing through teams. Okay, so our forwards, our pods of three would have a tip on, we'd have a ball out the back, another forward. It was just real tight, sharp attacking play. Teams have caught on to us now. And we need to start bringing in an element of going around teams now too. And now you can't go around teams off first, second phase. Matt always says you've got to earn the right to go around them. But if you contrast Ireland's attack to Scotland's attack, who just get the ball out and they just fling it straight to the edges and they use their quick men, outside centre, back three wingers to gas the opposition. You never see this Irish team really do that with, off first phase, get straight out to the edges. So that's something that they're going to have to start looking at too. And a little bit of imagination in terms of how do we vary the point of attack a little bit. Because judging by today, we looked clunky and we looked predictable.
And Rob, I agree with you completely. And Shane said it when we were watching the game. How many times? When's the last time we saw the ball go from to 10 to 13? Just get the ball into that, off first phase. Get the ball wide, like just as a variation. And what Rob, if we become, if you can predict an attack, you can stop it.
Yeah.
And so we're coming a little bit predictable.
Yeah, and the same with the 15. When have you ever seen Hugo Keane hitting a line?
Yeah.
In those wider channels? It's very, very rare. It's just not something. It's not a string we have to our bow. Now, Ireland's attack has been effective for a long time, but you have to keep on evolving these things. And because you're right, Matt, opposition have a lot of film on Ireland and the way Ireland attack. And although Ireland have a lot of nuance to the way they attack and a lot of options, we're seeing that they've been read over the last number of weeks.
I guess if you're looking for an optimistic slant on that, they're bringing through 2 young 10s, and that fight is still happening. If you were to be figured out, you'd rather it happened not in 2019 in a World Cup year, maybe mid-cycle, and they can regenerate and go again. Maybe that's not the worst point for this team to hit this kind of problem.
They've still won. They've only lost one game in the championship. And also, I would say there was an element of last week's loss and the emotional drain that losing a opportunity like that would have affected, would have bled into this game. So I think we have to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But I said it at the top of the show. I still think Ireland will be very disappointed not to have won a Grand Slam this year, despite these issues that we've raised. Because after the Sheehan try, the momentum was with Ireland. France's best player was off. That was when Ireland should have gone home. And we've seen that story told many times by Ireland. Ultra professional, tighten it up, rock hard, brilliant defence, and squeeze the opposition out. And what actually happened was the opposite. France squeezed us and we buckled.
Yeah. So not themselves, but actually could have been good enough to win the tournament all the same.
Yeah, but I don't actually agree with that. I think we got blown away in those 15, 20 minutes and we had nothing to stop it. We did have the momentum after 42, 3 minutes, but when that pack came on, we looked like we had no answers to what was been thrown at us.
One of the things I think we have to not bury the lead here as well. We were playing with down to 14 minutes for 20 minutes of that game. No wonder we look fatigued.
Yeah, no, I get that, but we have to take those variables in on the day as well. Yeah. It's all well and good saying on another day we should have, but we didn't even come close to beating France that day. No.